rang at 11:43 p.m. The caller ID showed his own number. When he answered, the voice on the other end said just one thing: "You don't have much time." Phones are supposed to be predictable. A ring, a name, a number. Even spam calls follow a pattern. That predictability is why stories about impossible phone calls feel so unsettling. They break rules we trust every single day. This story exists in that strange space between documented technology and profound uncertainty. Telecommunications experts will tell you that call spoofing exists, numbers can be faked, delays can occur. These facts are real, but what happened next is something that can't be easily verified or explained away. The man in this story worked in IT support. He understood networks, logs, and timestamps. He was a person who trusted data far more than he trusted his own intuition. On the night this all began, he was home alone, finishing up a late work task. The apartment was quiet. The city outside had settled into its usual nighttime rhythm. At exactly 11:43 p.m., his phone rang. The caller ID displayed his own number. Now, this alone didn't alarm him. Number spoofing is common. He assumed it was just another sophisticated scam and he almost ignored it. But curiosity got the better of him. He answered the call. The line was quiet for a second. Then he heard breathing. It wasn't static. It wasn't background noise. It was breathing steady and controlled. "Hello," he said. The voice that replied sounded exactly like his own. Not similar. Identical. It had the same cadence, the same slight pauses. It even had the faint rasp from an old allergy flare-up he'd been dealing with for years. "Listen carefully," the voice said. "This call didn't happen yet." His stomach tightened. He let out a nervous laugh, telling himself it had to be a prank. Someone must have used audio clips of his voice. Explanation made sense for about 3 seconds. Then the voice said his name, followed by a detail that no one else in the world could possibly know. It referenced a specific file he had just closed on his computer seconds before. A file that had never been shared with anyone. He stopped speaking. The voice continued, calm and urgent. "In about 10 minutes, you're going to hear a crash outside. Don't go to the window." He glanced at the time. It was 11:44 p.m. This is the moment where logic and skepticism should have ended the story. Predictions are usually vague. Coincidences happen all the time. But what followed is what keeps this story alive. At 11:53 p.m., there was a crash. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't a distant car alarm. It was the unmistakable, jarring sound of metal striking concrete right below his apartment. He froze, the phone still pressed tightly against his ear. Outside, tires screeched. Someone shouted. His first instinct was to jump up and look out the window, but the voice spoke again. Sharper this time. "Stay where you are." He didn't move a muscle. Voice calmly explained that if he went to the window, he would be seen, and if he was seen, something would change. What, he managed to ask, his own voice trembling. There was a long pause on the other end. "I don't know yet. That's why I'm calling." And then the line went dead. He sat in stunned silence for several minutes before finally inching toward the window. And peering out from a distance, a delivery truck had jumped the curb below, clipping a street sign. Thankfully, no one appeared to be seriously hurt. He checked his call log. The call was there, listed as incoming from his own number, timestamped at 11:43 p.m. The next day, he called his phone carrier. He was desperate for a logical explanation. They searched their records. They found absolutely no trace of the call. It simply didn't exist on their end. But on his phone, the log remained unchanged. That's where the documentation ends and the true mystery begins. In the weeks that followed, he received 3 more calls. Each one came from his own number. Each one warned him of something small but incredibly specific: a sudden power outage that would hit his neighborhood, a critical system failure at work that he was able to prevent, a minor car accident involving a friend that his friend then managed to avoid. None of the warnings were for life-threatening events, but all of them were completely accurate. With each call, he noticed the voice on the other end sounded more strained, more tired. On the 4th and final call, the voice said something different. "I can't keep doing this." "Why not?" he asked, his heart pounding. "Because the more I tell you," the voice replied, its tone filled with a strange kind of sadness, "the less certain I am that I'm still you." The call ended, and after that night, no more calls ever came. He changed his phone. He changed his number. He even switched service providers. Nothing followed him. People who hear this story offer all sorts of explanations. Delayed voicemails that he misinterpreted as live calls. Audio hallucinations brought on by stress. Even memory reconstruction where our brains shape messy events into a clean, compelling narrative after the fact. All of these are possible. None of them can be definitively ruled out. Telecom specialists will note that timestamps can sometimes display incorrectly under very rare network conditions. Psychologists can explain how the human brain is wired to find patterns and fill gaps with meaning, especially when we're afraid or confused. But still, one detail remains deeply unsettling. He says that even now, years later, when his phone vibrates unexpectedly, he feels a strange jolt of certainty, a weird feeling like he already knows who's calling. And for just a split second before the screen lights up, he can't help but wonder if the future is still out there watching him, waiting for the right moment to dial his number again.